So, how'd you do? All right, we turned those basic puffy clouds and dashes and we made them into something a little bit more special by just changing a little bit of technique and getting a little bit brave, branching out, learning to use that brush, a little bit different techniques with that dabbing, and that really changed this into something very basic and ordinary and started to make it look a little bit more realistic. But now we're gonna go ahead and work on the next phase of this painting here, which is our land and mountains. So what I want you to do is go ahead and find a few different colors. We're gonna go ahead and do black, we're gonna do white, red, and yellow. All right, so we're gonna go get those colors, find those colors, and we're gonna have some fun with this. We're gonna do some color mixing and really let this painting take shape and see what you got. I'm excited for this because now this is going to be a little bit different of a step for you, and we're going to start with the basic shapes of our land and then start expanding and making those a little bit more detailed. So get ready, have fun. Okay, so as you can see, I got those colors on my plate, my black, my white, my red, and my yellow. So I want to go ahead and try to do some color mixing and have a little bit of fun with this painting here and kind of make basic shapes, but I want to make a color first. I want to make brown. So really essentially we're going to make our own brown here, and you got to think like, how the heck do we do that? Really, it's pretty basic. All you do is you play around with these colors. You're going to mix some red. I got a small brush here. You can also use a medium-sized brush. And we're going to mix some of that red into our yellow. And I kind of did it on the side here just so I can have some room to kind of mess around with it, play around with it, and as you can see, that red and yellow make orange. All right, so we've got orange there. Now it's okay with my brush, I've got orange on there, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of black, okay, just a little bit, and mix that into my orange. And lo and behold, you just figured out how to make brown. All right, now there's all sorts of different variations of color in this brown that can come out, depends on the type of acrylic paint that you're using. But mine's kind of like a medium auburn brown, I'd say right here. Okay, it's got a little bit of highlight to it because of those colors, but now you know how to make your own brown color. So with our medium or small size brush, whatever you've got, we're gonna take a look at this painting and start with some basic shapes. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a basic triangle. Check this out. It's a basic triangle. It's kind of in the middle, goes up into the clouds a little bit, and then once you've got it, just go ahead and paint it in with that plain brown. All right, it's covering up some of your sky there. That is totally fine. Look at that plain brown. All right, it's got some highlights of the orange and so in there. Depends on what grade of brown you made, how much black you put in there, it'd be a little darker. But as you can see, it's really pretty. It's a basic shape. And if you need more brown, you know how to make it. I do need more brown, so I'm gonna go ahead and just add a little bit more. Mix it in here. This version looks a little darker already. No big deal. I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow to lighten that up. And what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and make, oh gosh, a big triangle going right over here. This one's almost kind of going off the page. Look at that. All right, basic shape triangles. And also just depends on the type of mountains that you wanna make or land masses that you do want to make. Sometimes you don't have to make triangles. We could test that on another one. But for now, we're going to do our basic triangles. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and make a basic triangle. This one's maybe a small one right here. But you can see where we're going with this. You can see that we are starting to make some basic mountains. We want to know where they're at. We're coloring them in with a basic brown. Very simple step. They almost look like pyramids right now. You know what? And we can change it up. If you want, you can add maybe a small one right between those guys. Look at that. Okay, and then maybe I want to put another one over here. Look at that guy. plain brown. And you can see on the bottom part of these mountains, I kind of make it go straight across right there. And of course, we can make it different. We can make it anything we want. You can even use some of that blue down below, maybe for some water. Maybe we'll add that a little bit later on. But what I want you to do is go ahead, make some basic, triangles, tops of triangles right there. But you can see exactly what we're doing. And if you need more brown, you know how to make it. Red into yellow and add some black. Not too much black, just some. And that makes your brown. All right, fill them in. You see some of that background maybe showing through. Fill it in, but it's already starting to texturize. Okay, there you go, work on that. So now we're gonna work on our next step. Now we know that mountains aren't perfect pyramids, and they're just looking like perfect pyramids right now, those tops of those triangles. This next step is such a fun but vital kind of step to make it look a little bit more realistic. You're gonna take your small brush, take a small brush and put some of that plain brown in there that you made. Just make some of that brown that you got. Remember, red into yellow, add some black. Now what I want is for you to go ahead down each mountain peak right here, is just go ahead and blot or dab your brush. And what that's gonna do now is create a texture that you would not have gotten at all if you were just left alone. It's gonna go ahead and change the landscaping dramatically. Look at that. It's okay if it's not symmetrical, it's not perfect. Again, I'm a big fan of imperfections, especially when we're doing landscapes. Okay, nature's not perfect. We know that. It's gonna add all these different elements to it, but this is just a great step to show you how to make those mountains look a little bit more imperfect. Okay. I'm sorry if you're a perfectionist. It's hard, I know. Hang in there. You'll be all right. Look at that. Just randomly blotting and dabbing some of these really pretty mountains in here. Now these are just the background mountains. We can add some, larger mountains, some smaller mountains, but again, we're just working with the basics, showing you the technique to take that ordinary and make it extraordinary. Okay, work on that. Good job, guys. Good job. Keep up. You're doing a great job. All right, so we're working on our mountains. How's it coming, guys? You're taking those basic pyramids, those basic triangles, and dabbing or blotting along here. Now, the next few steps are gonna be a little bit more difficult. We're gonna start getting into shadowing and highlighting. There's really so many ways that you can really do this. We're gonna be working with a brush. I've seen artists use palette knives and all sorts of other things, other tools, but I want to again get you kind of comfortable with the brush. Eventually we'll get into those tools. But for now, we're going to be working on this, all right? So take your time. This is going to be a little bit more of advanced steps here. But we're going to break it down very simple. I'm going to take care of you guys and make sure you guys are good to go, and have fun with it. Remember to breathe while you're painting, okay? A lot of people hold their breath. Don't do that, all right? Just let loose, shake it off, all right? Everybody's painting is different. Yours is gonna be different than mine. Yours is gonna be different than somebody else's. That is the point of art, all right? That is what it's all about. Relax, enjoy, all right? Let's get started. All right, so now you can see we've got our basic brown mountains there. You've dabbed and blotted across those mountains. Now we kind of want to establish maybe a side where you'd like maybe some shadowing versus highlights. We can do it that way. There are some different techniques that people do use. We're going to go ahead and make some more of that brown. Okay, so red and yellow, and add some black. Okay, and make that same kind of brown if you can. If not, it's okay. If it's off by a little bit, no big deal. You're mixing the same colors, so it won't change like so crazy. All right, you can see I'm just mixing it. You know, maybe when you're done with it, you can, you know, kind of wipe some of that paint off of your brush and just get a good feel of how much paint you want. See, I can make this whole plate messy. Look at that. Look how much paint is on that brush. Wow. You can even take a napkin and wipe some of it off, whatever you like. All right, I'm just going to use this trusty little plate. Now, as you can see here, we want to maybe have like a difference of shadows versus highlights. Typically, I like to start with shadows first just because you can always go right on top of it with your highlights. Your shadows are the furthest thing back on mountains because that's the depth, that's the things that are in the background. So let's practice it. Let's go ahead and add some black into that brown. Oh wow, look at that. Now we changed it. Look at that darker brown, black, a little bit more black, and we mixed it. Again, you can wipe off your brush with a napkin here. I'm gonna take this napkin and just kind of, you know, wipe it off right there. Look at that, got a fresh brush, ready to go. That's probably the easiest way. Sometimes I get lazy and I just put it on the plate, but all right, now I'm gonna go ahead and start on the right side of my mountain peaks. With my flat brush, you can see it's flat, I'm gonna go ahead and start making maybe these little dashes and just kind of go down the edge of my mountain. Okay, and you can see I'm breaking up some of that original brown, but I'm adding some dashes. All right, adding some dabs and dashes. And you can see that paint's still a little wet back there, so it's, you know, picking up some of that brown. We're gonna let that continue to keep drying. Acrylic paint is a fast drying paint, and sometimes you need it to dry even faster sometimes. But now, as you can see, I'm just adding a couple little dashes at a time. And I'm doing it on both sides, you know, of both of these mountains here. Here I can bring it over here, the same color, and maybe add some more dashes tapering down here. And I want to do that on all my mountain peaks, so just so you can get a good practice, good feel for it. Now here's some fun parts. You can get these little detail ones. Okay, maybe a couple little guys, but look at this peak. I like this one right here. This one's kind of popping up right here. So I'm gonna make this guy come down into that other mountain. And what that did, look at what that did. That gives the illusion that there's maybe a closer mountain than these further ones. You could do that all along here. Let me show you. I'm gonna go ahead and make some lines, like there's a mountain shadow right in front of this guy. Look at this. I just made some quick little dashes, diagonal kind of little lines, almost like, looks like tiger stripes. And it changed it. It changed it right away. Look at it, I'm gonna add another one. Look at that. And you'll see what I mean when we start working on the highlights, the opposite side. Now also too, you can see like we've got the basic shape here. You can expand if you want. You can add maybe some down here. You know, maybe some lands coming around the corner here. Check that out. I'm gonna add some brown right on top of this blue. Woohoo! Look like some land or something going on that side. You can add a little bit more of a darker color, a little black in there, that'll change it. But check this out. They're dark brown, okay? You've got your basics. Look at this, I'm gonna make another mountain right here. Oh, dang. Just have fun. Look at this. It just looks messy and sloppy right now. I love that. I love that it just has those imperfections. Okay, I'm gonna make some right in the middle of this mountain. Take a look at this. Now I know that there's gonna be another mountain peak right there. And that's really the next step. So again, you can make some smaller little hills right here with your little shadows. Again, you can bring this guy down if you want, whatever. And you can consistently go back and forth with this. You can go back to highlights, back to lowlights, all the time. You can add, you know, maybe if you want a little bit more depth, you can add darker shadows, whatever. It is all up to you. Look at this guy. This one's kind of like a cliff looking thing over here. Maybe this one too. Boom. Love it, love it, love it. And I love for you to just let loose a little bit, all right? Just know that it's okay to make these mistakes. It's okay to just have these imperfections. So now you can see I've got some shadows on there. Those are your basic shadows. You can see they're on typically the right side of a lot of these mountain peaks. Maybe there's a couple just lingering there, whatever. No big deal. We'll get to that. But now what I want to do is add some highlights. Just practice with highlights. I'm going to keep a lot of that original brown you can see there. It's really pretty. We want to keep that. But we're going to go ahead and make some more brown. Red, yellow, and a little bit of black. Okay, there's your brown. We did it again. Okay, now I want to scoop up some white and add some white into that brown. Look at the highlight that just popped up there. Look at that, real pretty color. Okay, add some white, mix it in there. I'm going to wipe off my brush right now just to get a lot of that mixing paint off there. You can see I'm a real efficient painter. I like to just use the brushes just to mix. You can use tools, whatever you like. Whatever you like. Now, I'm going to take some of that highlight and I'm going to do the same thing but on the other side. I'm going to add some of these dashes and dabs, almost like tiger stripes again. Make very lightly touching the canvas. Very, very lightly touching the canvas. Now look what that does. That really adds an effect. I'm going to do it on this guy. There's a mountain peak right there. Look at, you can see I'm just kind of coming up to the shadow and adding that mountain peak. Okay, look at this guy. I'm going to add maybe some more. These are some really, high up mountains. It looks like, holy cow. Whatever. You can see there's just these, and I'm taking the paint as far as I can go without putting any more on my brush. I like doing that because it adds a little bit more to the realistic effect that, hey, look, see, you just twist and turn your brush, there's paint on there still. And it added some cool highlights that I wouldn't have gotten if I just, just kept putting that bright paint on there. But look at that. And like I said, you don't have to mix your colors. You can do that. I want to show you that you can mix brown and with some of the basic colors that you have, a couple primary colors with the black. And then again, this is where you start learning a little bit more of your technique. Again, very lightly with the brush, barely touching the canvas itself. Just very randomly. Imperfections are allowed. We want that. All right, we can have all of those imperfections. We want that because that adds to the realistic effect. Now look at this. Look what you just did right there. In fact, I know I added some highlights or some land over here. I can highlight that if you'd like. But this is going to take some time. The mountains can be, like a lot of our events here, probably the most time consuming, because you're learning so much technique and putting so much out there. And again, just have fun with it. It's such a fun, kind of soothing feel if you just take your time. Okay, look at that. Look at the textures. Look at what's popping off. Again, if you want to go back and forth, you're so allowed to. I'm going to add some black into that highlight there. It's going to turn a little bit a gray. I don't know if I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and take some red, yellow, and make my own dark brown again. Over here. Look at you. Just start using your plate wherever you want. Okay, it's okay to get messy. If you get some of that on your hands, don't worry. That means you're becoming an artist. All right, look at this. I'm going to add maybe some of that low lights and break up some of the highlights in here. Look, woohoo! Look at this. When you start adding more colors, more layers, you start getting something special. You just start seeing a little bit more depth, a little bit more something special in your painting. Oh man. Okay, you could even add, like, you know, I've seen like people just add like real bright, vibrant colors. You can add some yellows and different things. But again, we're doing the basics right now. And again, if you want some, you know, highlights, lowlights, you just go back and forth. You just keep going back and forth. And it's all about practicing. And this is so fun because you get so many mountains to practice on right here. You get a lot. Look at these highlights just kind of popping up. Maybe it's just catching some random light out there. You never know what the heck's out there in nature. All right. Now you see, I got some pretty dark shadows. You can tone those down, or you can amp it up. Whatever you want. So if you're like, hey, you know what? I want some more dark shadow. I want to make this contrasty. Look at this. I just added a little bit of black on my brush that already had brown on it, and I added definitely some shadowing into here. Look at this. Look at how much contrast now you have. Look at, just by adding another color, another layer. And you can see, wow, look at, you can even add some on the other side, whatever. Hey, you know what? Maybe there's some caves or something a little bit that the light just can't get to, you know? Add some on that other side. It's all right. Whatever. That's what I love about this. I love that, you know, each painting is so different. Eachbody's technique is so different. Look at this. I'm just maybe blending a little bit of that color together and then bringing it over to the next mountain. It's color matching. Yeah. Wow. And as you can see, the more I keep working on it, the more these cool little highlights just start popping up more and more. Now, if you're wanting to add, you know, tone it down, you just add more white into your brown. You tone that down quite a bit, and that adds some highlights too. You can just tone that into a real light brown. You can see I'm using white and bringing it in to some of that, you know, already kind of deal. But look at, I can add, since I added a little bit more white on my brush, look at these highlights. Now you can see very lightly with my brush, adding some fun highlights and just kind of tapering down that diagonal motion using the flat side of my brush, and just adding maybe a few dashes, dabs, and you know, get that random paint on your brush. Watch this. I'm gonna add it on this guy. This is kind of a fun mountain right here. Oh wow. Look at these. I'm gonna get these cliff kind of cool things going down. I'm gonna use those as a fun. We used to live in Colorado by the Flatirons, and we could see some mountains like this. It was really pretty, but it catches like a cool light for sure when you have those flat surfaces. But either way, how are your mountains coming along? I know it's a difficult step. Take your time on it, no big deal. Remember, we're taking the ordinary and making it a little bit more special. And when doing that, it takes time. It takes practice. It takes those kind of things. But I am here to help you. If you do have any questions, feel free to, you know, ask them on that YouTube. And we are going to be moving on from our mountains here. Now, it just depends on what you want to put down here. We can make this water if you'd like. You can see there already is kind of a reflection thing going. If you would like to do that and follow along, that will be our next step. I'm going to go ahead and add maybe some water and reflection. And we're going to do just the basics of it. But since we're going to do that, I want to add maybe a layer, a darker layer of brown that's kind of going around this soon-to-be water source down here. Okay, I'm going to make a little lines with our dark brown, just kind of breaking up some of that. All right. Look at that. And you can take some of that dark brown and move it up if you want. And you can even add some green in there, whatever you'd like. Okay, this is your painting, but again, we wanted to just kind of start off with the basics. We can also add trees if we would like. All right, if you want to add a tree, we can do that. I'm like totally game for whatever. This is where you look at your paintings and you're like, okay, what do I want to do next? But again, I want to teach you some of the basic stuff, turning the ordinary into a little bit more fancy, all right, a little extraordinary. Okay, so you got that. Very beautiful, fun time just having, highlighting. Again, you can just work on this for so long and keep it going, but we will be moving on to our next few steps here. So keep it up, guys. You can see I am just still loving working on my highlights and my low lights. Those are your basic mountains. See you on the next episode.